Hey, it's math time. You ready to add and subtract? There are a whole lot of numbers. We're getting smarter with every math fact. Hello and welcome back to math. I'm glad you joined me today. We're going to be working a little more today with something that we've been working on for the last couple of weeks. Do you remember what they're called? Arrays! Very good. You might be wondering, when in the world would I ever deal with an array outside of math class? Well, as a matter of fact, in my real life, I work with arrays. I see them all over the place. Take a look at this. When you open up a carton of eggs, they're in an array. There are 2 rows of 6, which means you're just doing 6 plus 6, and we know what that is, 12. Some windows have an array in them. This window has 3 columns with 2 in each column, which is just 2 plus 2 plus 2. 2, 4, 6. Boom. 6 little window panes. If you are ever cutting up a fresh pan of brownies, you're going to be cutting them up into an array. As you can see, these brownies were cut up into 4 rows with 6 in each row. Since we know this, we can easily count up the brownies. It's just 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. Now, because we're so smart and we know our doubles, that shows us that we have 2 groups of 12. And 12 plus 12 is 24. Did you beat me? Here we have an array of cupcakes. This is something that you might see if you go to a party. Arrays are all over the place if you take the time to look. These cupcakes are in 4 columns with 4 in each column, which is just adding 4 times. And since I know my doubles, can you guess what I'm going to do now? 8 plus 8. And 8 plus 8 is 16. I think you got me on that one. Figuring out how many pieces of cake you will get when you cut up this sheet cake is going to take quite a bit of math. Each little paw print is going to be a piece of cake. So the first thing we need to do in order to figure out how many pieces of cake this gives us is to count how many are in each row and how many are in each column. We're going to be adding up how many are in each column to figure out how many pieces of cake we get. So take a minute to figure out how many rows there are, how many columns there are. Ready, go. Okay, I counted 9 columns with 6 in each column, which would be just adding 6 up 9 times. Now, in order to make that a little more easy to add, I'm going to take these 6's and group them up so that I have 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 6. Now, that's still quite a bit to add. So the next thing I would do is know that 12 plus 12 is 24. This is really just 2 groups of 24 plus 6. That I can do. In order to add this up, I'm just going to first start with my 2 groups of 24. I'm going to write them down on paper because for me, big math like this is easier to do on paper. So here we go, 24 plus 24. Alrighty, now as you know, sometimes these big problems like this can get a little jumbled. So I like to just divide them up into place value columns by drawing a line down like this. This tells my brain I'm just going to add up my ones column and then I'm going to add up my tens column. Now easily, look at that, doubles and doubles. 4 plus 4 is 8 and 2 plus 2 is 4. Hey, 24 plus 24 is 48. Now we can't forget that last 6 that we need to add on. So I'm going to start a new problem over here. I'm going to start with my sum of 48. And then I'm going to add in 6. Alrighty, so 8 plus 6, 14 is my sum. I carry that group of 10 over because 14 is 1 group of 10 and 4 ones. I leave my ones in the ones column. I move my group of 10s over into the 10 column and now I have 4 plus 1, which is 5. Oh my goodness, there are 54 pieces of cake in that sheet cake. Don't you think it'd be fun for us to share that cake? Okay. Okay, so for today's lesson, we're just going to do a little review and we're going to be drawing our own arrays. So you are going to need something to write with. Today we're going to be drawing our own arrays, and so we don't have to worry about what pictures to draw. Today let's just use X's to show each item in the array. Please draw an array with 4 rows with 2 in each row. You have to remember, when you're drawing an array, your items need to be really lined up nice and neat. If you make a mess of it, you won't be able to count correctly how many items you have. So, some people, when they're drawing an array, in order to keep things lined up so they make sure that their rows and columns don't get mixed up, sometimes they'll just draw a line to separate them. You can do that if you'd like to. If you don't think that would help, then just don't do that. So right now we have 4 rows with 2 in each row. How many would that give us altogether? Let's write the repeated addition number sentence to go with it. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Hey, do you know what we're going to do next? You guessed it. We're going to group these guys up because we know that 2 plus 2 is 4. And now we have 4 plus 4, which is a sum of 8. You are getting really fast at your doubles. Nice work. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Either move to a new spot of your paper or erase your whiteboard. And now, will you please draw me 2 rows with 4 in each row? Now, if you would like to separate these rows with a straight line just to make sure that they keep apart and they're easy to count, you can do that. But if you don't like the line, it's okay either way. Okay, so here we go. Now I have 2 rows with 4 in each row. What repeated addition sentence would we have to write for that one? You guessed it. 4 plus 4 equals, oh, didn't we just do that? A sum of 8? What is the difference between these two problems? 4 rows of 2 or 2 rows of 4? Can you see it? The only difference is how they are arranged. There are 8 items, either way you count it up. Now try this. Would you please draw for me 3 columns of 5? Very good. Now, remember, if you're having trouble drawing and keeping things organized, you could always make 1 row and then draw a line to separate it, then draw the second row or column, and then draw a line to separate it. Using these lines can really help you keep organized. Okay, now that we've done this, let's write our repeated addition sentence that goes with it. 3 columns with 5 in each column. Ooh. That's an easy one. 5 plus 5 plus 5, ha! And I know that 5 plus 5 is 10, and 10 plus 5 is, you guessed it, 15. Nice job. So, what is another way that we could take these 15 X's and rearrange them into a different array? How could you do that? How could you take these 15 X's and turn them into a different array? I'll give you a minute to think about that. Hey, did you come up with the same thing I came up with? This time I drew this array with 5 columns and 3 in each column. So let's see if that brings us to the same number of X's that we had to start with before. Remember, before we had 15 X's. So let's see here. The repeated number sentence would be 3 plus 3 plus 3 Plus 3, plus 3. Alrighty. Hey, look at that, it doubles. That's 6. That's 6. Now remember, just because we don't have somebody else to put him with to make a doubles, doesn't mean he doesn't get added up. We'll just bring him down. So now we have 6 plus 6, which is 12. 13, 14, 15. Hey, look at that. We came up with another way to draw this array. Good job. Hey, good job today. That's the end of the lesson. So now I'd like you to please go ahead and practice some more with arrays on today's assignment. Thank you.